Hello everyone, I'm speaking to you today from a piece of the coast in Northern California, and the subject of today's discussion is the use of what are referred to as the 4 T's in risk management. The 4 T's stand for 4 words that begin with T, unsurprisingly, and that is treat, tolerate, terminate or transfer in a particular order. And what the 4 T's refer to are your options, the categorization of the options available to you if you identify a certain risk and you decide what you might do about it. Now, if you identify a risk, you might choose to treat it. In other words, you might invest in some form of mitigation that will reduce the risk of the risk occurring or the impact if it does occur. You might tolerate it. In other words, you do nothing about it whatsoever. You just accept the risk may manifest at some point, and if and when it does, you'll take some form of appropriate action. You might transfer it. You might say that you'll pay someone else to take on the activity or the thing that gives rise to the risk and ask them to manage the risk actively on your behalf, to take the hit if the risk does manifest, and you'll pay them for doing so. And the final option is to terminate. In other words, to stop the thing going on that might give rise to the risk in the first place. So the question is, what did the 4 T's have to do with a bit of the Northern Californian coastline? Well, let's to illustrate a point. I'm at a place where it's a lovely beach down there, but it's somewhat a rocky path, and I'm told that in the shrubbery there's the odd rattlesnake. Something can jump out, bite you and cause you a bit of grief. And the question is, what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do about both the risk of tripping on the way down to the beach or being bitten by a rattlesnake along the way? And the options available to me in relation to these rattlesnake, for example, are on the one hand to treat it. In other words, I might well invest money in some sort of a rattlesnake catcher of some sort to come along, search out the rattlesnake, put it in a cage, take it somewhere else, and therefore next time I walk down this path the risk of being bitten is much reduced. That's a risk being treated. I could choose to tolerate it. In other words, I'll be aware that the rattlesnake exists, but notwithstanding that, I'm not going to do anything particular about getting it removed, and I'm going to walk up and down this path as often as I like, and if I get bitten, well, I'll have to dig out my rattlesnake bite kit and do something about it. I could transfer the risk. I could say to someone else, look, I do not want to walk along this path and get bitten by a rattlesnake, therefore I'd like to pay you to walk along this path to get bitten by the rattlesnake, and if it happens, bad luck, but at least I will be protected from that particular risk. Or I could terminate. In other words, I could just not walk along this path at all and thereby avoid the risk of rattlesnakes altogether. Those are the 4 T's. So the 4 T's don't actually help you identify a risk in the first place, but it's a very tidy way of stimulating thoughts as to what options are available to you once you've identified the risk. And if you choose ultimately not to do anything about the risk, at least it's something you consciously do. You've consciously decided to tolerate the risk, but at the same time you might have gone through a thinking process to say, do you invest in treatment? Do you negotiate transfer? Do you terminate altogether to avoid the risks available to you? So it won't help you identify the risks, but it will help you figure out what you might do about it. And in other discussions, we will have covered a broader concept called risk appetite. These risk appetite is the general attitude you have towards taking on risk and what you do about it, and how risk averse or how accepting of risk you are. Within that, these 4 categories help you decide, not at the general level, but at a much more specific level, what you might do. So I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found the pictures of the Californian coast diverting, and I hope that the 4 T's are something that are going to be useful to you as you try to work your way through contract management, commercial activities, and all that you might do to ensure that there are good commercial outcomes at the end of your endeavours. Thank you very much.